your competition will tell you how to beat them.
Yes, every
right?
time.
And you're not reinventing your business. You're listening and you're watching and you're understanding and you're making the process smoother for them. Welcome back to the Trustedpreneur Podcast. I'm David Ritchie, and I'm with my beautiful wife, business partner, Madeline, and we are so excited about today's topic. And what we're going to talk about is, what if you could launch a business with zero competition? And what if I told you that the answer to that is all within your competitor's blind spot? So, Madeline, one of the things that we have found when we're coaching and consulting people is when we're talking to them, and the first thing, whether they're launching or they're already in an existing business, they look and they say, I have all this competition. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that you start talking to them about is identifying the gaps, right? Mm-hmm. So what are the areas that all businesses should look at?
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting because everybody comes in with there's so much competition, is saturated. And yes, there are some markets that are, especially in the coaching industry, is completely saturated. However, the one thing that we always need to understand, and there's 3 steps that I keep, I love frameworks, that. The 3 things that I do when I look into going into any kind of other business that is either saturated or not. First, price, mm-hmm. convenience, technology. Those are the 3 concepts, the 3 steps or 3 things that you must consider before you do anything. Can you provide a better pricing without sacrificing quality, mm-hmm. right? It is a convenience for that customer better than the competition, right? And how innovative is it with technology? Because technology is ruling everything right now, especially AI, as we know. So once I look at those 3 things, I know that I can dominate the market. Right. And then, you add your personality, your gifts, and all things. And obviously, are you ready to show up to the world with whatever you got?
Right. So a lot of people would say, okay, so price. And what you said is you're either beating their price or you're equal to their price, but you're delivering a greater value.
Correct.
And so the convenience is, how convenient is it for the customer to acquire the product or service that you're delivering?
Absolutely.
And then the third thing, and I just want to make sure I have this and our audience has this, is technology. And that's how are you delivering it? And are you delivering it better than someone else? But you don't actually have to have all 3 to dominate the market.
You could have 2, but the third one, you really will dominate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and we get into business because we want to dominate and we want to be better than the next person. And if you're worried about competition, you must analyze it from that vantage point.
Right. So I'm going to I want to use an example. I was on as our audience knows that
I have an example too on that one, because that, especially for people like me.
Okay.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Oh, I get to go first?
Yes. You
okay, excellent. So as our audience knows that we invest in some emerging brands, and one of them is an IV solution. And we were on a conference call the other day with the leadership, and one of the franchisees said, we're not competitive. And they said, well, and they broke this down, and it was really interesting about how they said competitive in what? Mm-hmm. And they said our pricing is equal or better. And they went through this whole thing. Mm. We have more value because of how this particular system does their drips, right? And they found out that, okay, and every one of those things, they use an app to schedule the appointment. If they need a medical director, they have that on the app now. And there's all these really cool things.
Right.
where they were not competitive, they found out, was in the convenience category.
Oh, interesting.
And they weren't open the same hours as their competitor.
Okay.
Right? And so what ended up happening is they said, well, the franchisor said, well, what are your actual hours? And they said, well, I'm closed on this day and I'm closed on this day. And he's like, okay, well, that's your gap.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're mirroring the other, because those are their hours and their days, why? Right? So it's not as necessarily that the other company was doing something poor, right? And they're not equal on different footing. It was that they weren't neither one of them were being convenient to their customer.
Yeah.
And then what was really interesting on that one is they found out that the locations that actually are open 6 days versus 5 days do 18% more yearly volume.
Oh, interesting.
Because they're attracting a customer and they're being more convenient for them.
Right. And so, convenience is such a big deal.
It is. And so what I take away from that is they actually had two, they were doing well, but when they added that, that was how they positioned it. It was, okay, no, you're going to be more convenient. And they actually used this framework. And they use different words, but it's the exact same thing. And I think most businesses don't pause and look at their competition and understand exactly what they think they're competing against.
Right.
You said you had an example.
Yeah, I did. And that really frustrates me when people don't have a good process. Inconvenience for me. I am a busy woman. So I had a girl that I know that her product is amazing. I loved how she engaged me in all things. She had pricing, massages are, no matter where you go, if you really want to go to a really nice place, is going to be pretty much competitive. It's whatever they do. And so the one thing that really pissed me off, I tell you, was that she did not have a way of me booking my time.
Mm-hmm.
That was number one. And then she sent me this lengthy intake form that I was like, oh, I don't have time to complete this. Right. And she didn't, it was like very fragmented. And I think that every company out there has some kind of fragmentation. One thing that you can tweak to help specifically in the convenience piece, and we are in the convenience business, right? We had our first business is convenience.
Right.
And now it has become not only, it's a must, right? Because people don't want to travel anymore. But this particular, and I told her, I said, for women like me that are busy, you need to make this convenience enough that I can just book and go, because I could have gone to another place that was going to give me similar and probably just par, let's just say, in pricing, and it would have been a lot quicker. And I didn't have to fill out a 10-page intake form.
Yeah.
So convenience is important nowadays, especially in the metropolitan cities, because the traffic is so bad to get from point A to point B. And so I just, for me, that is a number one thing when I look at anything, any business that I'm going to do, any company that I'm going to do business with. If you don't have a convenience factor for me, for a busy woman like me, I'm not going to go.
Right. So when we're talking about that and we're identifying those gaps, no matter what it is, right? So it could be in the price, it could be in the experience, it could be in convenience, it could be in the technology, no matter what it is. The thing is now you have to take that and, you can use a lot of, how do you first find it, right? And first you find it, you start reading reviews, or, you look at their website, you see what their offering is, you find out what their pricing is. You can do a lot of things and research without actually going to their location. You could do blind shopping and send somebody in and kind of get a feel for that as well. Yeah. There's lots of ways to get that information. However, in today's day, the website generally tells you everything you need to know.
One thing that actually I think it's ideal that you go into that company's reviews on the Google reviews and find out what are they missing.
Right.
What is it that the customers are talking about? Because reviews to me are very important. And when you're doing market research for anything that you want to do, you go to the Google reviews, because they will tell you exactly what they're missing oh, the market is missing. So that is a very reliable research process,
Right.
that most people don't know about. And they just read reviews to see if they want to do something. But no, read reviews differently from a perspective of, wow, is there an opportunity here for me to enhance what they have by me creating it over here?
Right. And so you leverage that, and now you basically are building a way to promote your business, utilizing a weakness that you have found in theirs, right? So, going back to the IV location, right, is we already know that they can promote that how they create their drips, right? They have the hood, they do it on site. It's all fresh. It's,
Right.
So their experience of what they're getting is greater, right? And I've always said they should promote that, right? It's not, somebody's not coming to you with, they already filled the bag, right? And I mean, it's being done right in front of you.
Yes.
And so
Fresh.
those types of things are important, and you have to use that in your marketing, in your presentation, because, and you do this in everything you pretty much transact in, is you look for those reviews as well, just from a standpoint of, like you said, shopping, right?
Yeah.
And you find out what the experience could be. And then if you see that, or you've already done that, and then somebody's marketing their plus, now you have a real benefit, right? So when you're meeting with someone and they come in and, like you said, they said, I've got too much competition. And you said that it's because they haven't really looked at if they had competition and where are they competing. So how do you get them from a mindset to move to that direction? Because that's really hard.
It is. And it's reframing a lot of the mindset words that we use to be able to move forward, right? We must see ourselves on the other end of things. And I think that, recently when our daughter graduated 2 weeks ago, already coming up, right? The commencement speech was one that really resonated with me from a mindset perspective. And that was that, when you're doing, the woman that was speaking, she was talking about her son doing Taekwondo, right?
Right.
And one of the first steps is to break that board. And when you think about breaking the board, it's going to be a hard thing to do, right? I mean, gosh, I've never broken a board before, right? So I don't know how am I going to do that. But instead, what she focused on was what was going to be at the other end once I break that board. And I thought that was such a great analogy in how we should look at things going forward, is that when we are going into any venture or anything like that, we must see ourselves on the other side of things. Right? We should already, and this is visualization. This is no secret, right? How you see yourself, it is how you're going to show up in the world. And so from a mindset perspective, that's what you were saying.
Well, I think that's true, right? Because they mentally block that they can't compete.
Right.
They say it. Well, I can't compete against their price. I can't compete against this. I can't, and I go back to that and say, but what if you are? What if you, and how is that presenting?
What about their pricing you can compete against?
Right.
Right. I mean, those are questions that you need to be asking yourself. And then when you start answering those questions, then that's when you start seeing that, okay, this is things that I'm making up in my own mind. You have to learn how to rewire that mindset and be able to again see yourself at the other end of things and not make it so complicated. Yeah. And I understand fear is real. I'm not going to say it isn't, because it is. But what it really is, fear, right?
Right.
And then comparison. People like to compare their beginning to their one person that they admire as middle. And I think that holds people from moving forward as well.
Right.
And so I don't ever look at myself like that. I just do what I want to do and when I want to do it and how I want to do it. And if that resonates, great. And if it doesn't.
Powerful words, honey. Powerful words. No, seriously. But I think what, as I look at this topic, right, is, your competition will tell you how to beat them.
Yes, every
right?
time.
And you're not reinventing your business. You're listening and you're watching and you're understanding and you're making the process smoother for them, right?
Yeah.
And I think then what the other big thing is, the market will always tell you what it wants.
Always.
And you have to always be listening, and again, one of the tools to do that is listen to your own customers, read your own reviews.
Yeah.
Right. And, a lot of businesses are afraid to read their own reviews because they don't want to see the negative.
It's so true.
But the negative is the secret sauce sometimes.
I know.
And the positive is telling you what you should do more of, which is really, there's no great business that did it by themselves, right? And had all the ideas. They had to listen to their customers.
Feedback.
And they had to watch their competition and see how they're growing and what they're doing and how they can do it smarter, faster, more convenient.
And efficient.
And all at the right price.
Right.
And that's how you dominate a market.
Yeah, and never sacrifice quality either. Right. I think that's integrity and quality are very important traits when you're doing business, regardless of what is it that we're doing. And yes, I agree that it should be a minimal viable product, but that product should be able to deliver better than what the market is already viable delivering. I mean, that's another thing. And I remember I want to talk about this story because I think that it's very, very, very real of what we're talking about, which is BNN, right? Mm-hmm. When I got laid off in 2008 and after 18 years of my corporate cushion job, which I loved. But I didn't love it that much to the point that it was going to cripple me and not going to make me go forward with my dream, right? My dream of, I just want to be flexible with my schedule. I don't want to work for anybody anymore. And so, which a lot of people, that's what you hear and that's what you see a lot of people getting into business, but they don't go into business with an understanding that you are not going to find that freedom right away. Okay. It's going to get ugly before it gets prettier. Right. And so again, that beginning versus the middle. But when I got laid off in 2008, I thought, it was when the mortgage industry crashed. And guess what we did? We opened a business in the same exact industry that was crashing, right? Ignorance is bliss. We talked about this before. And so when we did that, what I did know though, I knew my skill set. I knew where the holes were. And I wasn't reinventing the wheel. I mean, I think it was 5 years into the concept of mobile closings, right? And a lot of people were getting out of the business because of the crash. And I was getting in the business, but I knew exactly what the pain points were for my client. And that expedited the process of me building the business, getting it to be relatively $1 million business in no time until we got better at it and better and better. And we became the go-to in the industry. In fact, people that were in my industry came to us to help them, right? And to this day, I mean, November of last year, we were approached for our company to be purchased. Right. And one of the reasons why is because we know and see the holes in the industry. And not only that, I mean, we see where it's moving to as well. And so it didn't pan out. It wasn't a life-changing situation, but here we are. We will make that a life-changing situation soon. And I'm excited about it because we have not only filled the holes, we're going to dominate the industry. And that to me is where your skill set in inventorying that piece is important.
Could not agree more. And what a great story to finish this episode in. I think the most important thing I would tell our audience is your opportunity lives within what your competition is missing. And if you live and breathe that every day, success is just around the corner.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us in this episode today. We really enjoyed having this discussion with you. We hope that you gleaned something from it. And if you did, if you could leave us a 5-star review, it means the world to us. And it also gives us the opportunity to help other CEOs just like you.
Let's get to work.